Here we are. The end of the first season of Wolfden. Legend of Dragoon. It feels kind of cathartic to finally be recording this, late though it may be. Because you might have expected me to have recorded this right after Xenogears and have been done with it. But let's just say real life kept kicking me in the ass, and that's all I want to really say about that. In fact, even this week, as I turn my monitor off because as I really don't want to screw this up too much. Even this week has just been kind of like a ugh, and that's kind of why I decided to finally pull the trigger. I am recording this like 2 weeks before it is set to go live. That is how close I am cutting this. Now, I'm going to try very hard not to look at my notes too much, because I want to do this as much off the cuff as I can, with my notes just being a reference point. Right, okay. Because Legend of Dragoon is one of those games where I can just talk about the game just no problem. Left, right, and center. Just sit here and talk. So, probably going to be here a while. And I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up taking me like 3 hours, because I want to talk about so many aspects of this game. Right? Let's start with my history with this game. First, the lore runner talked about at one point how he played the crap out of Mega Man X3. I think he said X3. I could be wrong. But Mega Man X3 was one of the games that he had played a lot of. And the reason was it was all he had. Legend of Dragoon was like that for me. It was basically one of the only PS1 games that I owned, and thus I played the absolute crap out of it. I kind of went through a an interesting cycle of my opinion on this game. From really loving it to my enjoyment seeming to just kind of mellow out, to the point where I was just like, well, it's okay. It's good. It's all right. You know? Then I reviewed it. And it was a lot better than I was expecting. I looked at Legend of Dragoon and I said, holy crap. To the point where I even gave it on the gameplay axis, where on the gameplay axis alone, this game beat FF6 just on the gameplay axis. The story, it didn't quite beat the story. In fact, what's ironic is that this game just came below my equivalent of the art category at a score of 99, a final score of plus 99. Yeah, you know. There's a lot of things about this game that I enjoy so much, right? Right. And it just kind of reinforced why I like this game. I like this combat system. I love these characters. Most of these characters, we'll talk about the one exception later. I like this world. I'm kind of sad that this game never had a chance to this world never got another crack at it, right? But that was always something that I looked at and I said, well, what could they do with a sequel? Because that's always the question when you have a sequel, right? What do we do with it? Right? Because the sequel can't just exist. You have to do something with it. You have to make the sequel. Well, this is going to sound weird. You have to make the sequel matter in some way. because you're basically walking you're basically walking a tightrope, right? You're walking a tightrope, right? Change the sequel too much, and you'll get people questioning why the hell you're even bothering to call this. Call it, declare it, Soul Hackers 2, for example. Because, yeah, seriously, I look at Soul Hackers 2 and I'm like, that doesn't look anything like Soul Hackers 1. Maybe there is some relevance in the story that's tied to it, but for the most part, it just looks like it should have been Soul Hackers. I don't think they should have attached Soul Hackers to the name Soul Hackers to Soul Hackers 2. Okay, you're not even part of a group, any kind of derivative of the Spookies, for God's sakes, from the looks of it. But whatever. That's neither here nor there. Now, some people have said, well, why not a prequel set during the Dragon campaign? That could be interesting, right? So prequel could work, but the one thing I will say that I like about this game is I love the combat. I love the additions combat. Now, some people have basically just said it's a glorified QTE. And I'm just going to be blunt, those people are dumb. They, they drink paint thinner on a regular basis. Because it's not just QTE. See, a QTE is just press the button in time. No, what this is this is a rhythm game, effectively. Let me explain. Hey, because a QTE is a button pops up on screen, you hit the button, you win. You succeed, right? What this is that you have to time your presses. So there's a rhythm, there's a flow to the additions combat, right? And thus, as you have to go in rhythm, and each different addition has its own rhythm. Some are just are kind of slower paced. Some have a bit of some of them are more high speed. Some of them are kind of wonky. I gave an entire triple negative to Hex Hammer for that. And there's a lot of it's a lot of rhythm, right? I've always felt like that, and I've always resented people just saying, "Oh, it's QuickTime events." No, it's not, because that X is on screen the entire time. And you still have to hit the circle button to cancel out the counter within the timing, right? You can't just hit circle and be done with it. I also love the Dragoon combat, which, yeah, I honestly love the Dragoon combat. You know, I've loved the armor designs, and I like a lot of the attacks. Right? I will grant you I'm not too much of a fan of the pressing the X button when the light goes around the circle. I much prefer the boxes, but I also really like. I like that this game kind of has an anti-grind policy. Now, what's funny about this is that those that know me know that I like leveling in RPGs, right? I give a lot of shit to games with scaling exp if that scaling exp is not handled well, right? Because because if your game is not designed well, then the flow of the exp gain is going to drop off a goddamn cliff if you do it wrong. For example, there are exceptions to that actually kind of prove the rule, right? let me put it to you this way. Pokemon is an example of scaling X done right. Trails is an example of scaling X done ridiculously wrong. Because you can still level in Pokemon because it's designed to get your Pokemon up in the levels. It's just there is a lot of grind involved, you know? At least to get your Pokemon up to really high levels, right? But that's the idea. You're supposed to get stronger so you can move on and face tougher and tougher challenges, right? And I like that because most of the XP you gain come from the bosses. Which is funny because that actually is demonstrated for you in gameplay right at the beginning of the game. Because you defeat the two soldiers right at the beginning, right? Gain a little bit of X. Then you go and you face the commander. The commander gives you enough X to level. Very nice is tutorialization right there. I like that. Now, I have stated that I like leveling in Legend of Dragoon. And the lore runner even asked me, point blank asked me, what do you enjoy about leveling in Legend of Dragoon? Because you aren't gaining any X from the trash mobs, not really. And that's very true. You are not. You will gain pitiful amounts of exp and gold from the trash mobs. But what's funny is that the trash mobs are not going to be very important when it comes to levels. The bosses are. And the bosses are, and that's your big reward for beating a tough boss, especially if you're lower level. You will gain a crap ton of experience. I love of a lot of the bosses in Legend of Dragoon, and I love how the bosses really do dump a lot of exp on you. You know, like seriously, like 3 bosses into disc 2, and the party gains 6,000 exp from specifically the Garage fight, right? The Garage Mappy fight, because that fight literally literally gives you that, and it's usually enough for a level, right? Unless you have actually sat there and leveled for a while, you will gain a level from the bosses because each of the bosses is designed to really level you up. And I like that. It's actually one of the reasons why I'm okay with gaining just a pittance of X from trash mobs, because the trash mobs are not what are supposed to level you. Which is funny because I actually went out of my way during this playthrough. During the stream playthrough I did, uh, of of the copy I have on the PS3, through the PSN. I went out of my way to not grind. I had to force myself not to sit in Celeste Forest until I'd mastered double slash and got dart up to level 5 and mastered double slash, right? Which is usually my approach. If you do that, you curb stomp Helena Prison. Listen, just based on darts level alone, right? Especially if especially if you know what you're doing. And then and then I also have the get everybody up to at least level 20 on board the ghost ship and make sure everybody's at level 3 Dragoon that can, right? And then and then of course I like to get the character who gains their Dragoon spirit at the end of disc 2. I like to get them up to level 3 Dragoon before I exit disc 2, right? And then the starting area of disc 4, I like just sitting there until everybody's at level 30 and have mastered everything, right? Dragoon, additions, all of it. If you do that, you are basically making the rest of the game your bitch. it's it's kind of funny in its own right. Right. So yeah, and it was funny because the difficulty and power progression curves were just so smooth throughout the entire game. I was just beelining for the story objective and not and fighting, fighting the trash that I encountered, and I still managed to actually gain Dart. I'm pretty sure I gained Blazing Dynamo by the end of the game. That's impressive. I didn't go out of my way to grind everything. I could have, but I didn't. And it was also nice for me to actually get. I think I actually got the Ultimate War God on stream, but future I'll go ahead and put that in put up a screenshot if I actually did get it, because that will require me to go searching through the archive of Legend of Dragoon, specifically on the Ghost ship. Oh yeah, that's another thing I like. There's good loot in this game. Difficulty curve I mentioned. A lot of the I've said this like 3 times now. I like a lot of the bosses. I think some of the boss designs are actually kind of clever. Because you can, change up their patterns, or, have them lose access to specific attacks by defeating certain parts, the virages specifically. And yeah. The one exception is, of course, Grand Jewel, because that thing goddamn sucks, but yeah. And I actually want to make sure I actually gave that son of a bitch its negative. Ooh, he was a triple negative, no less. Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, I love a lot of the bosses. I love a lot of the additions. I love the Dragoon combat. It's just really fun for me to go through this game. I even like hunting the rare monsters on occasion. Those are fun. But that's all I got. Excuse me. But I think that's all I have for gameplay. Let me double check my notes. Let me not let me not say that. I love the music. That's a good thing. That's great. Uh, I love the. Oh yeah, that's it. That's what I need to talk about. Guarding. There is some cool. There is some small niceties that I could talk about, like the percentage potions and revives, the world map zoom out, the encounter arrow, and all that. All right. Well, you know what? So, but let me actually talk about guarding first. I love that guarding heals 10% of your HP. It does, because that's what it does. You hit guard and you restore 10% of your HP. Also, while you're guarding, you cannot be afflicted by status effects. So, if the opponent tries to confuse you, nope. The only status effect that can affect you while you're guarding is instant death. That's it. Everything else is told to fuck off. That's why I like guarding, and that's why guarding was a plus. Absolutely love it. I also like the whole potions heal half your health. Health. Healing Fogs restore full. Healing Breeze is a full party potion. And Healing Rain is the full party heal. There's just something kind of awesome about that. Hmm. I like the enemy health triangles because while you're not going to see exactly how much HP the enemy has left, it helps to know that you're close. I love the animations. I really like the intro. Oh, I like the Stardust side quest because the Stardust side quest. The reason I gave it that a plus is because there are 50 Stardust in the world, right? And in order to come, and it's basically the way to unlock the path to the super optional. Here's the funny thing. I mean, the Stardust will never be in a location you can't go back to. There is no missing star. Well, okay, you can miss Stardust, but you aren't locked out of getting Stardust, right? There is no part. Okay, I'm seeing things. There is no part of Art of the Stardust side quest that gets blocked off to you, right? Because you went too far. There's no, as Lore Runner likes to call it calls it in his review document, in his audit document, audit standards document. There's no gotcha. There's none of that, which is good. Mm, I like finding the Virages. I love the really expensive game breaking equips in Lohan. And okay, before I talk about that, let's go ahead and talk about the Dragoon special realm, because I forgot to talk about this. So when all three of your party members gain Dragoon spirits, and all of them have full Dragoon form, you can actually transform with one of your characters and go into what is known as the special zone. The special zone will boost all of your attacks to all your spells to 100 by 100%, and if you choose to do a D attack, if you choose to do a D attack, then the D attack will just go no problem. That's actually cool. I like that. That's awesome. I don't want to talk about the negatives just yet. Okay, as cheesy, I will say this: as cheesy as it is, I do love the voice acting, specifically in the combat. It's silly, but I like it. It's just that right level of silly, you know. Uh, okay, well there is one Virage I didn't like, and that was the Scarred Super Virage. That's in the Forbidden Capital, in the Forbidden Land. Loved fighting the Divine Dragon. That was awesome. Awesome. Uh, there's some good gameplay story integration. Uh, I love the some of the optional fights. There's my triple negative for Hex Hammer. I kind of like Death Frontier as an explorable area. I like the gold economy, as I felt like I was gaining gold at a decent enough pace that it never felt like I needed to go grind gold. So that was good. It just meant I couldn't get the expensive stuff unless I grinded. I love the Psych Bomb X, which is a spell you gain on Disc 4, which is just awesome. Uh, is there anything else I want to talk about? Oh, yeah. I do like fighting the Dragon Souls, and I like that from both a gameplay and a story thing. Absolutely adore Maru's perky step. Love Blazing Dynamo. Bone Crush is awesome. There's some uh that's for a different reason. Those bosses were fun, but I shouldn't spoil. Well, I will admit the last Dragoon Spirit is kind of awful because of one simple thing. You don't gain it until the only story fight that's left after you gain the final Dragoon Spirit is the final boss. Suck. That sucks balls. I also gave the final Dragoon Spirit 2 story negatives for its wasted potential while I'm on the subject. I also really don't like the ultimate weapons in this game, the quote unquote ultimate weapons, because they're kind of boring. Most of them are just stats, and that's the end, you know? But I should play fair. Let's talk about some things I don't like on the gameplay axis before we switch over to story, shall we? Let's see. There's an accessory I hate called the War God Calling. So there's an accessory called the Ultimate War God, which if you suck at the additions, oh hey, here's an accessory you can buy for 10,000 gold that will make it so that additions are done automatically. Definitely helps with Hex Hammer, I'll say that much. And you can also get one on the Phantom ship if you're really lucky. So that's cool. Cool. But the War God Calling is a useless accessory. You basically can buy it for 1,000. There are some that are scattered here and there, but what it does is it has the damage. I think it has the damage and the SP you gain, which are the points you need for going into Dragoon. And yeah, it is literally a useless equip, and I'm just like, oh, piss off. Alright, what else do we got for criticisms here? Here that I can actually talk about. There's also the second, if you don't go get it, if you don't get it in Lohan, you have to wait until the final dungeon for one particular Dragoon Spirit. For the last, of course he is. For the last Dragoon Spirit before the final one. For the last party member who joins you. Which is kind of awful, and I hated that. But we'll talk about that more when we get to the story section. because I don't want to spoil whose Dragoon spirit that is on the off chance you haven't played this game, which I highly recommend, by the way. There is a stealth section in Feltz, and I hate it. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. I don't like I like the Phantom ship, but I really don't like the fight with the Phantom Knights because you have to make sure all of them are down at the same time and they can get back up fully restored, which is just ugh. I hate. Well, okay. I don't mentally think of her, but there I should say the second last party member to join because technically she's a different party member, and she got a gameplay negative because she literally pisses me off with her animations. Screw you, Miranda. It's blinding light. Nobody is going to see your titties. Titties, have some fucking pride in yourself. Oh, god damn it. The Scarred Super Virage I didn't like because it's a time limit boss, and it really just feels kind of pathetic. You either beat it before the timer runs out, or it does a super attack and then it dies. Ugh. Grand Jewel I hated because it has the Dragon Block Staff, which honestly does make the Divine Dragon fight more interesting, but God, I hated doing it with Grand Jewel. Because half the time it feels like Grand Jewel's turns take forever. I also don't like navigating the Forbidden Land, which Grand Jewel is the boss of. Which is the area the Grand Jewel is a boss of. I already mentioned that, like I said. Then there's disc switching, which is just. Ugh. God damn it. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the constant having to switch discs. It was annoying back in the day. Thankfully, we have the PS4 version, which just does it automatically, and it's basically a glorified loading screen, which is good. There was one particular fight that I also simultaneously like summoning my character's dragons and not because I feel it is a waste of MP. They look cool, but they're a waste of MP. I didn't care for. I liked fighting the restless souls of the Dragon Campaign Dragoons, but one of them, Kenz's, really didn't appeal to me. The super optional, Faust, is really goddamn irritating. And I gave 2 negatives to the crafting laws in Xenobatos. I also don't like trying to navigate Mayfield, by the way. There is literally a room where you can fall through the floor, or if you don't go in the correct pathway. And it is so easy to screw it up. Oh my god. I didn't like fighting Claire in the Moon. I also didn't hate. I also hated Death Rose, but that's for a whole other reason. I forgot to mention Archangel, but that's okay. I like the Super Virage we fight on the moon. That was awesome. Him, he's and then the boss just after that. That is awesome. And yeah. Oh, and I also hate the confusion and arm blocking status effects. So, yeah, I actually really like it. So, this is your big spoiler warning now, because I'm going to go ahead and start spoiling the crap out of the game. Spoilers, 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 spoilers. Spoilers. I highly recommend you play this game. If you haven't, please go do so. Because now it's time for me to talk the story. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I love a lot of these characters. There's a lot of very interesting dynamics between the characters. Now, I thought about going through the entire storyline and just talking about each character, and just talking about each plot point as I go. And I could. But I feel like a lot of what I would be saying would just be me repeating myself from the stream. So instead, I want to talk about each of the party members, and I want to go, from, and I actually kind of want to rank them as I go. There are a there are a grand total of 9 playable party members in the entire game. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rank each of these characters and talk about why I like them or not like them now that we're in the spoiler section. So, at number 9, we have Miranda. God, I hate Miranda. What angers me about Miranda, and she's the only character that got any party member that got any negatives, well, story negatives to her name, is because Miranda is arrogant. She's arrogant, and her default is be physically violent with people. Not a good trait to have, in my opinion. It really is not. So, don't like it. And she acts way too goddamn arrogant. There is, basically, we are trying to get the divine moon objects, right? Which are objects that conceal great magical power that Melbuframa basically created to use as tools for breaking the signet sphere so that he could call upon the Virage embryo, right? We're pursuing a man who wants these objects. And Miranda says that the moon mirror is not our business. Oh my god. That hurts my brain, because it's like, when you're hearing that we're trying to stop a man from gathering the divine moon objects, don't you think that's probably means it's going to be in danger? Because what if he finds out the secret to the seal? Oh, look, Lloyd found out the secret to the seal. You moron. I hate it. And I really hate that Miranda acts like, oh, you think chasing one Wingley was easy? Don't be conceited. It's like, yeah, no, Miranda, you're the fucking conceited one, because you didn't join. You joined us literally fuck. What was it? Was it 2 dungeons? Yeah, you joined us 2 dungeons before we went after Lloyd. For fuck's sakes. Literally, because the dungeon right after she joins is the Forbidden Capital. Cut me a fucking break, you know? So, Miranda's in dead last. Fuck her. Coming in eighth, and it pains me, but somebody's got to be at this position. Eighth, unfortunately, would go to Albert. I don't hate Albert. I like Albert. It's just, it kind of feels like the narrative doesn't really have much for him to do. right? And that kind of bums me out, right? I like Albert, and I really do enjoy his character. I like Albert. I like his character, but I don't know. There's just something about Albert that just kind of is not as appealing to me, right? Which is in total contrast as with Kongol. Kongol, of course, is also kind of just there. Some people say he's, from a gameplay perspective, people can do, the other characters do what he does, but better. I actually disagree. He actually was useful to me as a tank, and I liked that. It was actually kind of invigorating to have him. He, the strong one, right? The enemy turned friend, which is also why I didn't want to talk about whose Dragoon spirit it was that we could find in Lohan, right? Because Kongol doesn't either gets his Dragoon spirit in Lohan randomly from a merchant, or he doesn't get it until Disc 4 in literally the final dungeon when everybody's going through their trials. Oh, right, I didn't talk about that, did I? Well, you know what? I'll go through a bit of a linear order after. After this is just kind of a brief overview of the character. Screw it. You know what? I'll do it now. So, sorry, to go back to Miranda for a second. No, I'll talk about the trials after. I'll talk about the trials after. Sorry. Never mind. So, yeah. So, Miranda, Albert, and Kongol, although I would put Albert way higher than Miranda in my books. That leads us to sixth place, which would go to Haschel. Once again, I like Haschel. I think he's awesome, but there is a lot to be desired when it comes to him, because I just feel like the narrative kind of doesn't do too much with him. Well, not too much interesting, anyway. He has his moment in disc 2 and in disc 4 a little bit, but otherwise, yeah. Then there's so then we got Haschel. Then we have and then we have Shauna. I know some people don't really like Shauna, but I like Shauna. I think Shauna comes across as a very strong-willed character, and she isn't arrogant and abusive about it. So, that's a plus. I also like the fact that she was able to be saved and was able to go ahead and be excuse me, and that she could be spared the fate that was awaiting her when because Melbu Frama, who had been possessing Zeeg at that point, I told you we're in full spoilers, wanted to become the god of destruction himself, which works. So yeah, I like Shauna. I think she's awesome. Which leads us into our top 4, which leads us to my fourth favorite character party member, which unfortunately is Dart himself. Dart is very interesting in that he has to learn that revenge will gain him nothing, as Lavitz tells him, right? Dart is very much a lead protagonist, but his character arc is very simple, but his character arc is also very effective. And I like that because it shows how much Dart grows over the course of the game. And it really does go to show that he does learn that revenge, to quote a movie I have never seen for however many times I've done it now, to understand that revenge really is the most worthless of causes. Because if revenge is all you got, then you've got nothing. Nothing at all. Yeah. Speaking of revenge, let's talk about let's talk about the man who taught him about revenge, and that revenge that revenge gets you nothing. Lavitz. Lavitz is very interesting in that he basically goes throughout the entire course of disc one. He goes through the entire arc that Dart is currently going through, and is a shining example of it. And I love the fact that he goes down swinging. Right, there is a part of me that wants to say that when Lavitz dies at Lloyd's hands, that even Rose is affected by that. I like to think she was silently cursing herself when she says that Lavitz was out of luck. That she would have stopped him had she known that Lloyd had the Dragon Buster. And for the record, I buy that. I do. Because I actually think that would actually. Because I actually think she had enough respect for Lavitz. Whether it was romantic or not, I leave that up to you. But she cared. Lavitz was her friend. Why wouldn't he be? You know? Lavitz was a bro, and I love him for it. Speaking of Rose, she's in my number 2 slot because Rose very much is the most tragic of the characters. Her journey has been one of pain and misery, walking the earth for 11,000 years as the Black Monster. The one that took Dart's or its original home of Neat from him. Yeah. And I love how just like with Lloyd, Dart doesn't need revenge. He accepts Rose for who and what she is, and even says at point blank, the Black Monster is dead. All we have now is a companion traveling the same road. I love that. It is wonderfully poetic, in my opinion. Wonderfully. Then there's my favorite character, Maru. Maru is the heart of the party, honestly. I feel like she is the one that kind of keeps. She's the Yuffie equivalent for those that know the compilation of FF7. Because in the compilation of FF7, Yuffie was the one that kept Avalanche in touch with each other and basically kept them from drifting apart because she didn't want them drifting apart. And I feel like that's the way with Maru, right? It's characters that like Maru that allow guys like Dart to be able to that allows characters like Dart to go through their stuff and even punch and shout punch their enemy and say, hey, no, you don't get to take the coward's way out like others would. So yeah. Is there anything else I actually do want to talk about, or can I talk about the trials? I don't like the Kamui storyline. I really don't. Admittedly, I think it's kind of a meh thing. Hate Miranda, like I said. I really don't like the Bartle brothers. Rules, if I'm honest. I will say when Lloyd killed younger Bartle, I was like, yep, I love fighting Lloyd. I gave dart punching Lloyd its own separate positive because hell to the yeah. I love Zeke being revealed as Diaz and then his exposition, which is honestly nice. And then Shauna being revealed to be the Moonchild, that's actually cool. I like that. There's my note about the don't be conceited line. I honestly like Aka Gliss. It's the magical city. Xenobatos was kind of annoying to go through, but it was a fascinating concept, and Mayfill is wonderfully chilling, in my opinion. Okay. I guess that's all I have, so let's go ahead and talk about the trials now. These are great examinations of the character. So, in the final dungeon, which is the moon, Un, Un, where else are you going to birth the god of destruction? So, in the final dungeon, the party encounters tests. It's tests of their past. We get the worst one out of the way right off the bat. Because, good lord, I fucking hate the death throws. It was a triple story negative. Why? So Miranda's his mom abandoned her child so she could go be with another man and refused to even take Miranda with her. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. No, I don't care that she came back. That doesn't mean shit. You ditched your mother when you had a perfect opportunity to take her with you. Go fuck yourself, Miranda's mom. And the fact that the solution to dealing with that fight is literally to forgive the fucking in bitch who abandoned Miranda is just bullshit. I hate that. I didn't like it gameplay wise, but I actually thought Claire worked much better. Haschel's daughter. I felt that worked wonderfully. You know, I love Kongol facing his brother. Other that was a nice insight into Kongol. Rose having to confront her vassal dragon Michael. That was great. The philosophical debate between Albert and Dole was good. And oh man, I love Maru fighting Archangel. You are a false god created to justify Wingley's racism. Piss off, Archangel. I love humans. That was one of the reasons why I love. That's one of the reasons why I love Maru so much because Maru's trial doesn't involve her, the player selecting an option on a menu, because Maru is very comfortable with who she is. And who she is somebody who is a Wingley who loves humans. And she's not ever going to allow herself to ever question that. Ever. Because that is just how Maru rolls. She has seen the good, she has seen the bad, and she knows that Wingleys were kind of fucking assholes 11,000 years ago. Maybe it's time to change all of that. Freaking love it. I also love the fact that Melbu Frama had been manipulating Zeeg the entire time. That was good stuff. I was like, yes. I was like, oh, hello. And the fact that, and again, because he wanted to become the god of destruction, Shauna gets saved because of that. I like that. Lloyd showing up and giving us the Dragon Buster and Divine Dragoon Spirit after getting killed by Mobu Frama is, frankly, stupid. Stupid, and I really hated that scene. I also hate that the fact that it's wasted potential for us gaining the Divine Dragoon Spirit. I really hated that. The final scene is kind of weird, admittedly, but I enjoy it for what it is. But it is a little nonsensical, so it was a positive negative situation. And I admit, I love the ending montage showing what everybody gets up to at the end after the things close out. And I like the fact that we stopped the plan of the creator Soa because that plan needed to be stopped. I love Legend of Dragoon. I love these characters. I love this world. I love the gameplay of this thing. And oh wow, I've only been talking for an hour. Uh, not as much to talk about, I guess. But I suppose that was the part of the issue, though, was I said most of what I wanted to say on stream, didn't I? Right? And a lot of the characters I can kind of sum up pretty simply because these characters are very simple. But that's what I like about them. They're simple, but good. And I like that. I thought about doing a separate video to close out Season 1 of Wolf's Den, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say it has been a treat to go through all of the games that I have for this first season of Wolf's Den. And while the second season won't have as many videos, I am still looking forward to enjoying, whatever else I end up looking at in the future. Although, I could do some movies instead at the beginning. And kind of put off putting any of the game reviews up yet. Well, regardless though, next year we'll have some interesting stuff come into play. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final video that will go live for Wolf's Den proper in 2022. I thank you very much for joining me, and I hope to see you guys in Season 2 and beyond. And yeah, I want to thank the Lore Walkers Hookers for being inspiring and welcoming. I want to thank the Lore Runner for the inspiration for this very series of reviews, and I want to thank you for watching. As I said in FF6, I am and always will be proud to say, Blue Wolf Alex of the Lore Walkers signing out. Have a good one.
see the sky above. I'll be waiting for you if you still believe in love. Find a way to bring back yesterday. Find a way for love. I hope you stay when tomorrow becomes today. Love will find a I'll be waiting for you. In my heart, you are the one. If I cannot find you, I will look up to the sun. From where you're standing, you can see the sky above. I'll be waiting for you if you still believe in Do you still remember all the time that has gone by? Do you still believe that love can fall out from the sky? If from